Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Hund the Hound, and today I wanted to share with you some of my other hobbies outside of dressing like a blue dog. This is kind of a series I wanted to do with not just some of my hobbies, but with hobbies of other people. We may have guests come in and talk about some of the other hobbies they like. So another thing I did before I got into the furry fandom was the RC hobby. Now we're talking about radio controlled, but today we're going to just focus on RC cars. Later I might touch on drones and RC boats if you guys are interested. I don't know airplanes very well. You kind of go into the same thing when you talk about drones. There's a few things I want to touch on first. That's what we're mainly going to be focusing on. There's two types of RC, toy grade and hobby grade. Toy grade is, well, it's for toys. It's meant for kids. They're normally cheaper, slower, and they're very hard to fix or just not fixable at all. And being slower and less powerful is safer for kids of a younger age. Now, hobby grade is kind of a little bit different. They can still be kind of cheap on some things, but they're normally more powerful and faster and can be worked on and fixed. But most of the cars are rated ages 14 and up. Now, on the hobby grade side, there's a few things you need to know before getting into it. A few terms. When you're looking for a car, you'll see several designations of cars. The first one is RTR. This stands for ready to run. Everything in the box is ready for you to go. You've got a charger, you've got a radio, you've got batteries, you've got everything you need. That car is put together and ready to go. Next we have BND. That stands for bind and drive. Everything, almost everything is in the car except for a receiver and a radio. Or maybe there is a receiver, you just have to add your own radio and connect it to the car. This is really good for people like me that have multiple cars and only want one high-end radio instead of having a bunch of smaller radios that may not have all the features we like. The last thing we're going to talk about is a kit car. This is something that you have to put together yourself and is normally without electronics. When you're done putting it together, you'll just have what's called a rolling chassis. Now, this is more meant for people that want to do their own racing and want the car to set up the way they want, have their own parts and features on that car. Now, Hobby RC is really good at having a price point for anybody. There's $99 cars and there's several $1,000 cars. And normally that has a lot to do with the size of the car and the quality of the parts inside of it. But we'll get to the sizes in the future. The next thing to touch on is where to buy these. Besides going directly to a manufacturer's website, go to your local hobby shop if you have one. Support local small businesses. Luckily me, when I lived in Columbus, Ohio, we had a place called Cyclone Hobbies, and they had everything I needed. They had all the parts I needed, they had the knowledge, and when I couldn't fix something on the car, give them some money and they'll fix it for you. So I highly support going to your local shop. And you get to look at the car ahead of time and see if this is exactly what you want. Now, next thing I want to talk about is scale sizes. Scale sizes is a fraction. What fraction of this car is equivalent to the full-size car? If your car is one scale, a model of it could be a tenth of that. So I'm not good at math, but the numbers go from 1/1, which is full size, fifth scale, which is 1/5, 1/7, 1/6, 1/8, which is a very popular part of racing, and 1/10, which is also. Now, a 1/8 buggy could be a different size than another 1/8 scale type of vehicle because in the real world, they wouldn't be the same size anyway. So first, let's go over some different types of cars. We have buggies, which kind of, think of the Toy Story car. That was just the idea of buggy. We have rock crawlers, we have stadium trucks, we have road cars, we have drift cars, we have drag cars. Some of the ones that I don't have are a short course truck. That's just kind of like those trucks you see race in Australia that go over the jumps and are really crazy. You've probably seen one actually sponsored by an RC car brand. And then what we have also is a Truggy, which is a truck version of a buggy. It's weird. So let's start off with the smallest one I have and go up from there. We're going to look at the up close cam. So the smallest one we have is, this is a rock crawler. This is also a 1/24th scale. It means it's only a 24th of the regular car. And So pretty much the point of a rock crawl is that it is very hard to turn, is 4-wheel drive, and it's all the wheels are locked. I just put a new motor in this, so it's actually pretty dang tight. But this is meant to go slow and crawl over many things. This is my son's car. It's pretty fun. This is an Axial SCX24, but Axial was just bought out by a major company called Horizon Hobby, which we'll get into a little bit. This is pretty compact. We got a little battery. We got a motor. That's an aftermarket motor I just put in before this. And then our electronic speed controller, which we'll get into a little bit more shortly. Cute little car. Goes pretty slow, but it will climb up anything. Okay, so the next thing I want to get into is a stadium truck. This stadium truck is a 1/18 scale, but it's based off a 10th scale stadium truck. And it's a pretty popular place to start if you want to race, because the wide tires and the wide stance actually make it pretty drivable. This is a little modified as well. I have some carbon fiber and some other parts in here, but this is a fun little car and I enjoy it a lot. You guys might have seen this before because it's custom. Now Hund the Hound on the bottom. So this one's a little special too, because on the other one I showed you the speed controller and the motor. This one has them both in one, which saves a lot of space. Now the next one we have here is a very popular category. It's the monster truck category. My son picked this out all by himself. I had no influence on him. I tried to talk to him out of the car, the one that's shaped like a dog, but he wanted this one. This is a really good car. It's a 10th scale, and it starts out at like $150, and it's kind of like very basic. It doesn't come with a battery, so I had to buy a battery for it. And pretty much the same thing. You got a little receiver in here, electronic speed controller, and the motor on the back. Fun little car. These tires aren't standard. When you go to buy aftermarket tires, you'll find out they're actually a little bit smaller. This is just bigger to make it look like a more scale of the real thing. And like I said, this is a pretty fun car for most people. Okay, this next one I have had since 2013. It's a weird category, and I'm going to try to explain it. So, this is a Viterra Glamis Uno, and it is considered an 8th scale, but it has 10th scale parts. It's kind of a one-off car. There's no body on top. The battery just goes in the bottom here. So it's kind of weird because they call it an 8th scale, but there's 10th scale equipment in it. What it would be technically would be a short course buggy in other places that are shaped like this. These aren't the original tires. The original tires are meant for sand dunes and stuff like that. But I've had this car the longest. This car is actually, I've replaced almost every part on this car besides the metal chassis. The little electronic speed control under there, it was the original until it caught fire, which is why I have some damage on here. So that was fun. And now my biggest one is the 8th scale Truggy. I love this thing. This thing is fast and it's loud. Well, it's loud for an electric, but yes, this is what a lot of these cars are based off of. This is called a Losi 8 chassis. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 different versions of it. The buggy would kind of be the same thing, just a little bit shorter, and shorter arms and smaller tires. So in this, you've got your ESC, you've got a larger motor, and as you can see, there's the gears that run into the differentials, just like a car. And you got a big giant battery that's running, I think fully charged 16.8 volts. And then the biggest battery in it, you can put it's 22 volts. And this thing will blow the tires off. So we're going to use this for a lot of other examples of things. So within all these cars was something that I didn't really mention, but there's a difference between these cars, just like in the real world, of 2-wheel and 4-wheel drive. This car is a 4-wheel drive. You can see all the wheels, well, it doesn't work that way that well, but all the wheels spin together, but it is differentialed out, so it will send power to the front or the back, where the rock crawler is 4-wheel drive all locked together, just like a real car. The monster truck that I showed you is 2-wheel drive with just power in the back. Some people like that because it's fun to just spin around and do donuts. Some people prefer to race that way, and some people prefer the 4-wheel drive because you can get more traction and have a lot more fun that way on the track or just drive through anything. Now, when people think high-end RC cars, they normally think nitro powered, like fuel, fuel with a little motor, loud, making a bunch of noise, high RPM. I don't have any of those. I had something similar, but I got rid of it. This car right here actually started out as a nitro engine, and I converted it over with this whole plate here comes in, and a lot of this turns around. So instead of a motor being here, the electric engine's here. Nitro is like $11 a gallon for the fuel, and you have to tune it. I had a lot of issues with it. Well, what I had was a little bit different. I had a gasoline motor that ran on a nitro engine. It was kind of a one-off. But bigger scale cars like fifth scales actually run weed whacker gasoline 2-stroke engines. Now, for most people, the easiest point of entry is electric. And there's two types of electric systems you can go with. This right here is a brushless, and you can tell by the 3 wires. The difference between brushed and brushless is really just where the magnet is as relation to the coil. And brushed has brushes that hit another moving part and can wear out, where brushless, the magnetic part floats inside and it doesn't have as much friction. So when you think brushless is good for speed, durability, efficiency, brushed is good for torque, rock crawling, and cheaper. You can run kind of any kind of speed controller, where if you have a brushless motor, you make sure you have one that has 3 wires on it and can handle that kind of speed and power and style. On that same kind of line, when you buy a cheaper car, you do get the brushed motor, and you also get an older style nickel metal hydride battery. And nickel metal hydride batteries have been around for a while, and they're actually kind of safer because you can drive them until the battery is completely flat. This battery in the car right here is called a lithium polymer. It's kind of based off the lithium ion battery like in your phone, but the difference is these batteries, each individual cell cannot drop below 3.3, 3.1, depending on how dangerous you want to get, and you can't charge them above 4.2 volts per cell, which is why we talk about the different cells of the batteries. This is a 4 cell, so it's 4.2 times 4, and that's how you figure out the voltage. So it's very important to know what type of battery you're getting and how you can drive it. If you have a LiPo battery, if you just switch to a LiPo battery, you want to make sure you tell the electronic speed controller that you're running a LiPo, because if not, it'll run the battery till it's too low, destroy the battery, possibly cause fire, cost you a lot of money, cause your house to catch on fire. So that's very important. And the same thing kind of goes with fuel for nitro or gasoline. Don't store it in your house. Don't play with your nitro RC car in your house, or you'll start smelling things and getting pretty sleepy. Or you could burn stuff down. Like just be careful. Now I want to get into a few different brands and talk about them a little bit. The monster truck that I showed you is called an ECX. It's a brand that's owned by Horizon Hobby. Horizon Hobby is kind of like the GM of RC cars, where they have a bunch of different brands underneath them. Kind of in a monopoly, yes. There's another major brand called Traxxas, and they're independent, and they are based out of Texas. And Traxxas just sells Traxxas. That's it. That's them. They're kind of the, I don't know. I don't want to insult them, but like kind of the Honda Civic of the RC car world. They have a lot of just the same model that they've been making forever, been making the same way, and people like. This right here is a Losi, which I said is a Horizon Hobby brand. Losi is kind of the main bread and butter for racers. They have, all the way from cheaper cars to more expensive ones that you can race with. You'll know the difference because Losi's racing brand is called Team Losi Racing, so TLR. The orange buggy I showed you is a brand that doesn't exist as much anymore. It's called Vetera, which stands for go over the earth or something like that. It was supposed to be an adventurous brand, and they made monster trucks and buggies and road cars, and now they kind of just make rock crawler stuff as well. Okay, and one of the last things I wanted to touch on, which I enjoy the most, is kind of painting these RC bodies. I didn't paint this one. I bought this from somebody like this. This is an aftermarket body. They did a really good job, by the way. just so people know how you paint these are painted on the inside. You do your lighter color, actually you do your darker colors first. This guy had a bunch of different patterns on his, but you do your darker colors first, then you go lighter and lighter, then you back it with a solid color to make it not translucent. This is a pretty intricate design. This is one I did, it's more basic. I backed it with white. I didn't want anything fancy, I just wanted it to look neat. And then I got stickers all over it. Okay, so this car I did a long time ago. This was started off with a clear paint that had purple metal flake in it. And then I backed it with orange, and I was a little bit lighter on some places than others. And I don't know if you could tell, but it's really dirty. But there's certain lights where you can see the metal flake of purple. And I've had this body forever. It's, like I said, sustained some fire damage, but it's my best one yet, I think. So guys, I hope this introduced you into a new hobby that you might like to get into. When you're done spending money on furry stuff, spend all your money on RC stuff. And again, if you'd like to see more stuff like this, just let me know. I've got one RC boat left that I'd like to show off. And I've got like 1 or 2 drones that would be kind of interesting to show off as well. And if you want more stuff like this, I can bring on other people that do other kind of things as a hobby. And I can teach you guys as well. Again, this is Hund the Hound, and thank you for watching. Have a good day.